I must ask you to listen, as if your life depends upon it. And I say that not for drama, but because if this gets into the wrong hands, if this is taken as one more trick to make you safe, it may be better for you that it had never been heard. We are not here for casual curiosity. You don't have to remain a student. You may close the book now and live as you have lived. But if you remain, you must accept what I say, and you must be willing to practice, not once, not twice, but until it becomes the way you breathe. We will be careful in what we teach, and even more careful in how we receive it. Now then, I must lay a foundation that will not be popular with the mind that wants methods. The very desire for protection is a confession of danger. The instant I look for a shield, I have already granted spear its power. The moment I pray to be covered, I have silently admitted something outside is uncovered and able to wound. And you see, that is the great error we must stop at the door. Because to seek protection is to accept a second power opposite God. And in that acceptance, fear is fed and given a home. You know the habits I am speaking of. Shields of light imagined around you, words flung out against the evil eye, against gossip, against disease. Threads cut, cords burned, mirrors hung, salt sprinkled across thresholds, formulas repeated to cover the children before sleep. Oh good, you may say, it comforts me. But I ask you, what precisely have you just granted reality to? What have you enthroned in consciousness that now requires defense? Is it not true that you have placed a God beside God, a power beside power, and then you wonder why fear does not leave? You have invited it to remain by paying it the compliment of your watchfulness. No, do not argue yet. Listen. Our instruction is not, find a stronger sword. Our instruction is, put up thy sword. We are not entering a battle. We are leaving the battlefield by refusing its premise, that there are two. We are not going out to meet darkness with a brighter flashlight. We are refusing the lie that darkness has substance. This is the ethic at the doorway. Non-aggression, not as a moral point, but as a spiritual law. For where there is one power, there is not a rival to subdue, nor a shield to fashion. Be still and know that I am God. You will not use this as a slogan. You will not hurl it at appearances as a spell. You will let it address you as instruction. Be still. Cease reaction. Cease counterforce. Cease this restless manufacturing of protections, and know I am God. In that stillness, you are not kept safe by a wall. You awaken to the fact that safety is not needed, because there is no second cause to fear. If you cannot accept that yet, you will at least accept this. Every act of protection strengthens belief in a second power. We will not strengthen it. We will withdraw the belief and let it fall of its own nothingness. And we begin here, at the threshold, with the courage to put down our charms and be still. Now then, we must come to the thing itself. And I must ask you not to admire it from afar, but to accept it, to let it govern you. There is one power, God. Not God and, not God plus, not God beside. One. Therefore, in reality, there is nothing outside of God to protect you from. The moment you assume you need protection, you have accepted two powers. Stillness restores you to the consciousness of one. Do you see that this is not poetry? It is not comfort talk. It is the law of being. Look at the slyness of language. God defend me from X. The sentence itself grants X presence, intelligence, reach, and agenda. You have handed it a passport to your consciousness. You have drawn up opposing armies in your own thought and posted yourself on the wall as a sentinel. Oh, good, you will say, but it is wise to be vigilant. No, not in the realm where God is one. Your vigilance there becomes fear with a religious hat on, and it will not leave you because you feed it hourly scans of danger. The world will always present appearances, claims of malice, disease, contagion, accident, influence, manipulation. We are flooded with claims, and today's news will gladly loan you a new one before you have finished resisting yesterday's. But power is not in the claim. Power is only in the I that I am. There is no power in form or effect. The only power anywhere is the presence that is your life. When you live from that premise, you are not made brave, you are made simple. You cease negotiating with shadows. Understand the difference I am insisting on. An appearance is a picture moving on the screen of sense. It may be loud, it may be tragic-looking, it may be shared by millions, but it borrows its life from belief. If you confer power, you feel its teeth. If you withdraw power, you behold its nothingness. This is not denial, this is discernment. Discern what is power and what is picture. Psychologically, as long as you keep two powers alive in thought, you cannot be at peace. The mind becomes a night watchman, ears pricked, muscles tight, breath shallow. You pray and do not rest, for you pray and then listen for footsteps in the hall. And spiritually, that tension deafens you. In the throb of self-preservation, you cannot hear the inner government. The still, small voice is not heard in a barracks. Therefore, our practice cannot be defense. Our practice must be recognition. Be still and know I am God. Do not use it as a charm thrown at the claim. Let it address you as authority. Be still. Stop manufacturing a second power. And know I am God. Know that all power is in I. Sit in that until the sentinel steps down, until scanning ceases of itself. Then you will find there is no enemy to cast out, and nothing to fence in. There is only I, functioning, being, governing, and you, as witness, at peace. Now then, before we proceed any further, I must give you a way of standing in yourself that will make sense of everything that follows. For the purpose of this work, you must assume that there are two of you. The personal self, call it me Joel, me Mary, the one with history and preferences. And the I, which is the presence, the life of your life, the only power. Do not argue this philosophically. Take it as instruction. For this meditation, for this discipline, you must assume two. I, my real self, and me, the person. What is the honest motive of this me? It seeks safety. It wants to control variables, predict outcomes, shorten uncertainty. It reaches for techniques, for formulas, for rituals that will guarantee no surprises in the night. Oh, good, it says, if I do it in the morning and again before bed, surely I will be kept. And you see, in that very move, it sets itself up as the protector, as the manager of life, as the one who must ensure that life is safe. That is its habit. That is its fear. And if you permit it to continue in that office, you will never rest, because me is never satisfied that enough has been done. No. Hear this. You are not the protector. You are the beholder. You are the witness, the instrument through which I functions. Freedom begins the moment me lays down its sword, its scan of dangers, its superstitions of control, and yields the government back to I. For the I that I am is the doer, the sustainer, the law. I is omnipresence. If I is omnipresence, where would danger stand? If I is the only power, what remains to defend against? If all power is in I, how could a practice strengthen what already is omnipotent? Do you see? The logic tightens until there is no place left for me to patrol. This is not to despise the person. It is to assign the right office. Me becomes a faithful witness, an obedient instrument, a listening servant. Me attends, but does not govern. Me observes, but does not resist. Me is taught. And who teaches? 1. The inner government, the presence that says, "Be still and know I am God." You cannot force this by mental wrestling. You cannot argue your fears into silence, but you can consent. You can let the government be upon I's shoulder and allow your person to be carried. Therefore, we will begin to train the body and the mind as you would train a good student. Not to fight, not to brace, not to invent protections, but to receive governance. And the word of governance is simple, and it is repeated. Be still. Be still. Be still, and know I am God. You will hear me say this again and again because, as me yields in that stillness, you will feel a shift of center. No longer the vigil of self-preservation, but the quiet assurance of I functioning as your life. This is the door. Step through it as a witness, and let I govern. Now then, let me correct you gently but firmly, because if you miss this turn, you will travel far and never arrive. You do not become safe by adding spiritual armor. You do not become safe by thicker walls, brighter lights, stronger words, or longer lists. Safety is not a thing you put on. It is not a shield you raise. Safety is a state of consciousness in which no opposing power is admitted, and therefore none is feared and none is met. When consciousness is single, God alone, there is no second presence to defend against. Be still and know I am God. Not you defending, not you striving, not you building hedges, you consenting to the one presence as all. Stillness is not poetry, it is mechanism. When you can bid the body and the mind be still, you are not performing a pretty devotion. You are bringing the instrument to neutrality so that it becomes receptive to a government you are not personally voicing. Do you see the importance of that distinction? If me keeps issuing orders, then me remains the governor, and we are right back at the old fear with new vocabulary. But when the breath softens, the shoulders release, the eyes no longer scan, and the mind ceases to argue, a different law begins to operate. Not a louder effort, not a better will, but governance. The I that I am begins to function as your life, and the person becomes the beholder of I in action. Be still and know I am God. At first you may not enjoy it. At first you may not even approve of it. You will sit 5 minutes and say, "Nothing happened." Of course, me says nothing happened. It has been trained to measure progress by effort and sensation. It wants proof in the pulse, signs in the sky, drama in the room. It thrives on struggle and then calls struggle spirituality. No. Put up thy sword. Stillness is a different order. You will not be entertained, you will be governed. And governance does not announce itself with symbols. It settles you. It unhooks your attention from appearances. It draws the sting out of fear because it withdraws the belief that fear has a power to sting. Now listen closely. Because here is the promise, and you must not pretend it before it arrives, nor despise it when it comes quietly. There comes a moment, rare at first, then more frequent, when, instead of you addressing, you will hear yourself being addressed. You will not be pushing "be still" down the corridors of your body. Rather, "be still" will rise from within you and speak to your mind, to your nerves, to your breath, and they will obey. Assurance will not be pasted on from outside. Assurance will appear as an inner knowing. I will never leave you, nor forsake you. And you will recognize that this is not a memory verse. This is the presence, identifying itself as your life. Therefore, we will practice this, and I must ask you to accept the conditions. We will proceed in a definite order, slowly, without hurry, without dramatics, not as a ritual to keep you safe, but as surrender to the state of consciousness in which safety is not needed, because God alone is. We will not do it to get. We will do it to yield. We will not watch the clock. We will listen for the cessation of inner argument. Be willing, several times during the day, to return for a few minutes, not to accomplish, but to consent. And when you catch the old habit reaching for armor, smile at it, let it lay down, and abide. Be still and know, I am God. This is the alternative to protection. This is the only safe place. Now then, we will begin the interior discipline. And I must ask you not to hurry this, not to treat it as a formula to get results, and certainly not to pass it on to anyone until it has ceased to be something you do and has become the way you are. If this gets into the wrong hands, as a trick, as a charm for safety, it would be better it had never been spoken. Do not time it with impatience. Do not grade it by sensations. You will give yourself to this daily, quietly, secretly, until the body learns who is teacher and who is student, who is healer and who is patient. For the purpose of this discipline, assume two of you. I, the presence, the governor, and me, the person who is being taught. Now I am above, looking gently down into the crown of this head, saying, "Be still, and know I am God." Let the scalp be addressed, not forced. The crown, the temples, the forehead. Where the brow tightens, oh, it will argue. Do not fight it. Simply linger and let the word do the work. Be still. Be still. Down to the eyes, the sockets, the lids that scan. To the tiny muscles that have learned to watch hallways for danger. Be still, and know I am God. Not you relaxing them, you permitting government. Come now to the cheeks, the jaw. The jaw holds years of must and should. Do not pry it open. Bid it, be still. To the tongue and the floor of the mouth. This is where the body prepares speeches of self-defense. Be still. To the throat, where words rise like soldiers, put up thy sword. Be still and know I am God. If it argues, you do not argue back. You wait. You consent. You hold the place until the argument dissolves for lack of an opponent. Now look down through the shoulders, where the world hangs its weight, and through both arms. Down past elbows, wrists, into the palms. Into each fingertip. Be still. Be still. Do not force relaxation. Recognize presence. Movement and rest are not personal feats. They are governed. Let the hands be governed. Down through the chest. The heart will try to race its old races. The diaphragm will clutch. Meet anxiety where it lives. Do not diagnose it. Do not make a speech to it. Simply address, "Be still and know I am God." Let the breath be breathed. You are not counting, not controlling. You are consenting. Down the spine now, vertebra by vertebra, as if the column were hollow and you could see with inner sight. Be still. Into the abdomen, where old fear stores provisions for famine. Be still. Into the hips, the seat of bracing. Be still. Down the thighs, knees, calves, slowly, without hurry. Be still. Into the ankles, the heels, the arches, the soles of the feet, right into the toes. Be still until the sense arises, not of you holding the body up, but of the body being held, and you as witness to I upholding all. Somewhere along this descent, a change will occur. At first, you speak the word. Then you notice the word is speaking you. The authority is no longer personal. The silence is no longer vacancy. It is presence. Here the platform of fear begins to go out from under the body, because the body is no longer the stage for a second power. It has become receptive to divine governance. Stay there. Do not add to it. Do not announce it. Return to it again and again until "Be still and know I am God" is not something you do to your body, but what your body hears without your saying it. Now then, discernment. I must ask you to listen carefully, because this is where many of you, while meaning well, undo your own prayer. The common habit is to pray against evil, against sickness, against influence, against contagion, against lack. And the moment you do that, you have posted a notice in your own consciousness that there is a something, a someone, a power to be met, to be fenced out, to be overruled. You have granted it presence, causality, law. You have dressed it in authority and then begged God to remove what you first enthroned. Do you see the cost? Anything you pray against, you keep alive in consciousness, because against gives it your attention, your fear, your faith. We are flooded with claims of disease, of accident, of malice, of planetary influence, of heredity, of economics. A claim is not a power. A claim is a suggestion seeking acceptance. It knocks. It does not enter without your consent. It proposes itself as cause. It has none. It mimics law. It has none. It shouts in headlines. It has no substance beyond the belief you lend it. If you attack it, you fasten yourself to it as surely as if you had embraced it. For attack is attention armed with fear. No. Put up thy sword. Non-aggression is not passivity. It is recognition. It refuses to confer power upon an appearance. It declines the duel because there are not two to fight. This is why your warfare prayers exhaust you and produce no rest. They are staged on the battlefield of two powers you yourself supplied. Do not wrestle with appearances. Do not tramp around your room proclaiming the many names of a foe you secretly dread. Be still and know I am God. Get thee behind me. Hear that not as drama, not as a shouted slogan, but as moral refusal to give fear office in your thought. Get thee behind me, out of the place of authority, out of the chair of judgment, out of the driver's seat of reaction. And then be still. Not the tense denial that clenches the jaw, the quiet recognition that there is no law to back this suggestion, no cause to sustain it, no substance for it to feed upon. Be still and know I am God. Let the body be taught again as we have been teaching it. Let the mind be taught again. Stand down the sentinel. Yield governance. How does this work in the hour of testing? A report arrives. There is contagion at the office. Notice the first surge in the nerves. Do not argue with statistics. Do not pray against germs. Get thee behind me, spoken within, to your own fear's pretension to govern. Then abide. Be still and know I am God. Stay there until the scanning stops, or you hear of criticism, schemes, influence moving against you. Do not marshal counter-influence. Get thee behind me. Be still. In that stillness, the claim has no law to lean on, and so it cannot stand. It returns to its native nothingness because you have withdrawn the only life it sought, your frightened belief. This is discernment. Refuse the claim its throne. Refuse the battle its field. And let I alone be law. Abide until the inner assurance, not your bravado, settles the matter. Then you will find there is nothing left to pray against. For in the light of one power, the enemy you fed by resistance has nowhere to live. Now then, when you have persisted, quietly, secretly, not as ritual but as surrender, there comes a fruit that does not shout. Do not look for trumpets. What arrives is companionship, a presence that is not outside, not beside, but as your very life, and with it an inward steadiness that does not take its cue from weather, headlines, balance sheets, or diagnosis. You will find that you are not bracing anymore. You are not scanning. You are not composing speeches to defend yourself. You are simply held. Be still and know I am God. At that point, oh, it may come a moment and then go, and then return. There is a reversal. Instead of you pleading for protection, you notice that the very need for protection has lost its logic, because you are feeling after and finding a presence in which there is nothing outside of God. You are not safe because a wall stands. You are safe because there is no outside. You are not safe because evil has been pushed back. You are safe because you discern that evil has no law to lean on. And into that quiet will come, not from memory but from within itself, the word, I will never leave you nor forsake you. You cannot use these words as a charm. You cannot paste them on the mind as insurance. You wait, still, receptive, until that word is no longer a verse you summon, but the presence that announces itself. Now the anxious mind will not retire on the first day. It will offer scenarios. What about tomorrow? What about the children? What if the test? What if the market? Do not argue. Do not build counter-scenarios and call it faith. Get thee behind me, spoken to the mind's pretense of governance, and return, as often as necessary, to the one instruction. Be still and know I am God. 5 times in an hour if required. 10 times. Each return is not defeat, it is fidelity. Each refusal to debate is non-aggression. It is recognition. Be still. Be still. Be still and know I am God. You will find that assurance is not a mood. Assurance is the absence of a second power in consciousness, and therefore fear has no soil. This is why I must caution you. Do not measure your progress by how uplifted you feel in the chair. That is not the proof. The proof is this. When you rise, the appearance that yesterday captured your breath will have little or no power to move you. The phone rings with the old threat. Your hands do not tremble. A report arrives. Your center does not migrate to the claim. The impulse to defend does not seize your throat. In other words, the reflex of fear, the old governor, has no keys to the office. That is assurance. The goal is not a protected life. The goal is God consciousness in which fear cannot take root. And so we will continue, quietly, faithfully, until the inner word addresses you more readily than the world addresses you, and until your day itself becomes the demonstration that one is power and that you abide there. Be still and know I am God. And from that assurance, we shall see what happens when appearances knock and find no one at home to answer. Now then, belief has taken you as far as it can. You can recite one power, one presence, and I know you can. You can quote it with accuracy. You can underline it twice and hang it over your desk. But the letter of truth is not the healer. The letter is only a step. Unless you practice the truth you know until it becomes a constituted part of your consciousness, you will remain a nervous sentinel with correct theology. You may say, "Be still and know I am God," and still check the locks 3 times. Still rehearse replies, still scan the room for threats. That is belief parading as safety. Demonstration is different. Demonstration is when the hand does not reach for the lock the 2nd and 3rd time because the inner alarm has no office. When the breath does not shorten because the scan has ceased. When reaction does not spring because you are abiding in one. So I must ask you to begin, not with the grand crisis, but where fear habitually rules your day. Before travel. You know the moment. The bag is zipped, and the old ritual of protections wants to begin. Do not use God to make your flight safe or on time. Do not bargain for weather. Put up thy sword. Sit, even for 2 minutes, and let the instruction address you. Be still and know I am God. Be still. Stand down the sentinel. Know I am God. Yield government back to I. Then go to the airport as the beholder, not as the protector. What is the proof? Not that there is no turbulence. The proof is that your center does not migrate to the turbulence. The compulsion to check, to control, to forecast loses its grip. That is demonstration. Before a difficult conversation, you are tempted to armor yourself with arguments, to craft phrases as shields. No. Get thee behind me, spoken to the mind's urge to govern, and then abide. Be still and know I am God. Enter as witness. Watch what happens, not in the other, but in you. The proof is not that they agree. It is the collapse of the inner courtroom, the end of rehearsals, the absence of bracing. That is demonstration. Before sleep. You have your little coverings, your scans of the house, your last nervous sweep of news. Lay them down. Let the body be bidden. Be still. Be still. Be still and know I am God. Drift not into sleep defensively, but into presence. Measure your work not by dreams, but by this. The mind does not rouse at every creak. The habit of checking dissolves. That is demonstration. In crowded spaces. Do not use stillness to manipulate outcomes, to clear aisles, to bend people to your ease. We never use God for a purpose. We yield to what is, presence as all. If fear of influence, contagion, or disturbance rises, refuse the throne to the claim, "Get thee behind me." Then abide until scanning stops, until the compulsion to guard and gauge subsides. That is demonstration. And now, hear the principle of progressive proof. Do not despise the small evidences. The first honest moment when you notice, "I did not brace then," is your right brother's 57 seconds. "Oh, good," you say, "only a minute." No, proof that we can fly. You proceed not to larger terrors for sport, but to the next place fear has ruled your reactions, and the next. Each time fear fails to govern, you have evidence in consciousness that there are not two powers. Be faithful. Keep your proofs secret. Let them ripen until you can say, without boasting and without strain, "I know." And how do you know? Because when appearances knock, there is no one at home to answer. Be still and know I am God. Truth becomes yours only by demonstration. Now then, I must set a rule before you, and I must ask you not to take it lightly, not to admire it and then do as you please. If you would end defensive living, you will accept this discipline. Set aside each day a period, never less than 30 minutes at first, building, without hurry and without self-congratulation, toward a full hour. Do not skip days. Do not make bargains with your calendar. For not less than 90 days, hold to it as a vow. And in addition, several times during the day, 5 minutes will do, you will return, quietly, secretly, to the same inner posture. This is not a fad. If this gets into the wrong hands as a trendy idea, as a show of spirituality, it would be better it had never been spoken. Keep the purpose of it secret. All worship is wrong when done in public. Keep this between you and the I that I am until it has established itself. Here is the simple structure, and do not embroider it. 1. Sit. Chair or floor, it matters not, as long as the body is steady and the jaw unarmed. 2. Address the body as student and as patient. Be still. Slowly, as I have taught you, from crown to eyes to jaw to throat, through shoulders, arms, hands, chest and breath, spine, abdomen, hips, legs, ankles, feet, toes. Be still and know I am God. Do not force. Do not prettify. 3. Rest in silent recognition. No asking, no bargaining, no against. Let the word address you until there is no commentary left to offer. 4. Rise and go about your day refusing defensive rehearsals. No scanning hallways, no composing replies, no bracing. Put up thy sword. Now, a stop rule, and you must obey it. The moment you notice you are building a protection strategy in thought, planning the speech that will shield you, refreshing the worry that will prepare you, checking the lock for the second or third time, stop. Do not finish the thought. Do not finish the reach. Get thee behind me, spoken to the mind's pretense of governance, and return, then and there, even for 1 minute, to the one instruction. Be still and know I am God. Stand down the sentinel. Yield government back to I. 5 times in an hour if need be, 10 times. Each return is fidelity. You will not report this to the world. You will not post it. You will, however, keep a private record, not of how uplifted you felt, but of fruit. Note the moments when the peace of God has descended, not as a mood, but as the absence of a second power in your reactions. The missed rehearsal, the unreturned scan, the hand that did not reach for armor. Write me? No. Write yourself. Let the record convince you. I am not asking you to be brave in a dangerous world. I am requiring you to live from the one presence where danger is not enthroned. Practice stillness daily until it becomes consciousness. Then watch. Protection rituals fall of themselves because fear has lost its authority. Be still and know, I am God. Keep the rule. Keep it secretly. Keep it until it keeps you.